So we start with a normal bike. We suspend this bike in the air using a bike stand, and what it is going to do is make the bike stationary so it is easier to work with. When we pedal, the tires will rotate. We're going to use the torque produced by the back tire to move the blender and thereby make smoothies. But there are a few problems with this setup. The bike rack is kind of uneven, so we can't stick the blender on the bare rack and expect it to be stable. That's why we have these laser cut MDF boards. We stack a few of them up to reach our desired height and place them on top of the bike rack. This creates a flat surface for the blender and gives us room to put the base on top, which the blender will then connect to. We secure the MDF boards to the bike using bolts and nuts. Since we can't just stick the blender on the boards or they can still move, we had to design this part called the base for the blender using SolidWorks, a CAD software. We 3D printed this whole part. Now the base will be fixed on top of the MDF boards using screws, and when you put the blender inside, it will be secured down so the whole structure is fixed. Now there's going to be a shaft that runs through the whole structure. It goes through the hole in the base and the MDF boards. Make sure that the ring of the shaft goes inside the small 3D printed wheel, and it gets aligned with the tire so that it has good connection. The wheel is fixed to the shaft, and when the wheel touches the bike's back tire, when the bike is pedaled, the smaller wheel will rotate as well. This is how torque is distributed from the circular motion in the XY plane to circular motion in the XZ plane.
And now this is fastened in its position by 2 knots. Because of physics, the ring of the shaft goes upward when there's torque. We don't want that because when this goes upward, there's no contact and there's no force. This is a crown that we 3D printed using resin. The geometric shape of the crown is made to fit the hex nut bolt on the shaft. And the top is shaped like the blender's blades so it can connect both parts together. So, when this rotates, as you can see, the blender can rotate as well. Notice that the base is made of PLA and the crown is made of resin. The material they are printed with is chosen strategically. We use different materials to achieve different goals. For example, the base needs to be strong. It is the foundation of the structure. Therefore, PLA will provide strength. Using too weak or too rubbery material will ultimately lead to the base collapsing since it doesn't have enough strength to support itself. The study of materials is its own field within engineering, known as materials science, or MSc for short. Now we will show you how to make smoothies with this. We just add whatever fruits you like here, preferably slightly frozen ones. Make sure not to add too many fruits or you'll have a hard time blending it all. Next, add some liquid, like apple juice. Be sure to close the blender. Please make sure to hold the blender down to make sure that it doesn't move much. Once you're ready, start pedaling and let's go make our smoothie.
These are the parts that we add to the bike for it to, produce an amazing smoothie while we just pedal. Okay, so we'll start with the MDF boards. Okay, so these are laser cut. These are made of wood, and all these holes you see have a unique use case. And then the next part are these M6 screws that we have that we put inside the holes, and these are the washers and screws, and this is the shaft, and then this is a crown that we use to put inside the blender. Okay, so the crown goes on top of the shaft for it to be able to connect to the blender, and this is the rubber wheel that goes in the bike for it to convert the torque. Now the rubber wheel is sent inside the shaft, that goes inside the shaft, and then it's fastened by 2 screws. These are smaller MDF boards that connect the stand with the bigger MDF board using screws for it to stay stable on top of the stand, and then we place the blender on top of it. Alright, so this is the white thing here is the holder for the blender. Yeah, as it's shown here, you put the blender on top for it to be held really stiff, and then this thing here goes on the sides to prevent the shaft moving in the X and Y direction. And then we have the fruit mix or frozen fruit that goes inside the blender, which is going to be blended. Now we have a stand, we have a donated bike here, and when the pedals are run, the wheels also like spin, and then the torque is transferred, and then the blender spins for it to produce smoothie. And yeah, we're Smoothie Bike.